Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. And look, I've had a bit of a hair sort of disaster tonight. My hair's not behaving at all. I think I'm going to have to bite the bullet and actually wash it at some point. I keep putting it off and putting it up, and it's just not behaving tonight. That's why I was a couple of minutes late, trying to sort my hair out. But anyway, if I go a bit up on the camera like that, you can't see it anyway. Okay, so I hope you're all well. It's Wednesday today. If you're watching this live, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. And I think there's people all over the world interested in this case of Sebastian Rogers, who is an autistic 15-year-old. I don't know why my dog's crying. What's the matter? An autistic 15-year-old who just disappeared into thin air. And as we know, people do not disappear into thin air. So when his mum got up in one morning, I think it was the 26th of February, this poor boy had disappeared. And this is a very complicated case, I think. It's very sensitive because Sebastian had autism. Having said that, he had high functioning autism, so he was low on the scale of autism. So I don't know if that makes it better or worse or what, but at the end of the day, it appears that he disappeared in the middle of the night with a small torchlight and no shoes on, apparently. And he just was not there at 6 o'clock in the morning when his mum went into his room. He was not there, and all hell broke loose, basically. And to this day now, from I think it was the 26th of February, but I'm going to read the details. He has not been seen since. Yeah, it's been a month. No sign of him, not on camera. No physical sign of him, but no CCTV footage. No sort of digital fingerprint left, no telephone being used, etc., or just no sign of Sebastian. So that's what we're going to look at. Well, first of all, I think I'll say hello to you all. And now I know that there's a lot of people. I want to give a trigger warning here because, we are dealing with, well, apart from the fact he's a child because he's only 15 years old, which is, it seems like everything, the cases, sort of the high profile cases at the moment, a lot of them are children, like the Madeline Soto case or Cielo going missing, etc. And I don't like dealing with children's cases, as you know. It's very distressing. And I just want to warn you all that you may find some triggers tonight or things that might distress you. I know also a lot of my chatterati have got, personal experience with autism, with either children or family members, etc., or even themselves. So I just want to make that, just to let you know, we will be discussing an autistic 15-year-old, and if you think it may upset you, it might be a good idea not to watch. But having said that, as you know, I don't go into gory details about anything. I'm just going to present you the facts as we know them. We're going to look at Sebastian's parents being interviewed, his mum, his stepfather, also his real father. We're going to look at a couple of things. And I'm not casting aspersions over anyone. I'll give my opinion as we go along. But there's nothing to suggest so far, that there is any foul play by anyone. And so we have to remember that we can't accuse people of things without evidence. I also want to say, as always, though it's not something that normally happens on my channel, be kind to each other. You may have opposing views about things. If you don't like the view of someone, just scroll past it. Don't be nasty to them. As long as they're not being nasty. I mean, if they're being nasty, well, yeah. Yeah, if they're being nasty, she's chatting away to me here. If they're being nasty, well, you know, they won't last long on my channel. But if they're just voicing their opinion, which may be an opinion that you don't agree with or I don't agree with, we're all allowed to have our opinions on this channel. Look at this one. Hey, you're so beautiful, aren't you? See if I can turn it right. Look, she's trying to get on the camera, so yeah. And yeah, there she is. So yeah, so we're going to look at this story. We're going to just look at the facts. We're going to look at the people talking and try and get an idea of what we think. But at the end of the day, we can't cast aspersions on people because we don't know all the facts as well. For a start, the police know all the facts or know more than we do. So let me just say hello to everybody before I start. Chumba was first. Hi, Chumba. Hi, Desi. Hi, David. Hi, Kelly. Yes, Kelly, you're right. Because if the parents don't stick up for these people who've got sort of challenges, children who've got challenges, well, you know, nobody else will. Hi, DMV. Hi, Yvonne. How are you? Where are we? Hi, Teresa. Hi, Heather. Nice to see you. Okay, so let's have a look at the facts. First of all, we're going to look at the facts of this case. I'm just going to read you a news article, what we know so far about this case. Now, I haven't reported on this case yet, really, because there's been so much else going on with Samantha Murphy and Madeline Soto, and I went away on location, etc. So, and I was hoping that this case, to be honest, when I first saw about it, I thought, oh, this is going to be resolved. You know, this is going to be resolved. But unfortunately, it has not been resolved yet. And we'll see. But anyway, here is Sebastian. He was 15. I'm saying was, I don't mean in the, you know, I don't want to make it sound as if it's in the past tense. He is 15 years old. Look at these two little dogs here. He looks very happy to be with those dogs. Anyway, so the morning, according to, where are we? This is the guy. Oh, the Independent. So he's now been gone for a month, a whole month. That's a long time for a child to go missing, isn't it? A very, very long time. And the morning that he went missing from his Tennessee home, it started out as a normal day, his mother recalled. Now, it's also, I think it's important to say, this case was happening in the same area. Of course, that's another case that I was reporting on, Riley Strain, you know, who we were looking at, who sadly was found deceased in the river up there in Nashville, Tennessee, not far away from where this case happened. So that was another case that I've been looking at, the Riley Strain case. And this is not far away at all. And the search and rescue team that were out looking for Riley Strain in the river there in Nashville have been helping to look for Sebastian as well. Okay, so he has So Katie Proudfoot, that's his mum, that's her name. She went to wake her 15-year-old son up for school on the morning of the 26th of February, but his bed was empty and he was nowhere to be found. So Sebastian has high-functioning autism and is described by his mother as being very smart and not a mischievous child by any means. So state and local authorities have searched for Sebastian for more than a week, well, by now more than a month, using helicopters, drones, search and rescue dogs and teams on foot. And then they did scale back the search. So they have scaled back the search now for Sebastian. But then they went to a Kentucky landfill and did a targeted search, which, as far as I know, as far as they've reported, they did not find anything. However, there were some questions about why they went to that specific landfill. And apparently it's because, they were just ruling out possibilities. So I don't know if there was any particular reason why they felt they had to go to that landfill, except it's the landfill for the local rubbish refuse collection for the area. But as far as I know, they did not find anything. So here's what we know so far, bearing in mind this was a couple of weeks ago. Sebastian had not been seen in person or on camera since his disappearance on the 26th of February. And his mother, Katie Proudfoot, and stepfather, Chris Proudfoot, spoke to the media for the first time on Monday, the 4th of March, 8 days after he went missing. And we're going to look at a couple of interviews with them. So Ms. Proudfoot told WSMV the family went to sleep at their home in Hendersonville the night before he vanished. But when they woke up on the morning of 26th of February, he was gone. And when Miss Proudfoot found her son's bed empty, she called her husband, who was at work. "I can't find him," she said. And when he asked, "What do you mean you can't find him?" she replied, "He's not in the house." Miss Proudfoot said she searched the entire house, but she could not find him. "My son does not run, and he's not a runner," she said. "He's never run away before," addressing the possibility that he could have wandered off. "I don't know why he walked out that door." So the search for Sebastian has been a massive search. It's been it's gone on for a month now, and state and local authorities have used helicopters, drones, search and rescue dogs, and they even blasted his favourite song, "The Eye of the Tiger," while searching in different areas to try and call out for him or to him. But there has still been no sign of Sebastian. And there he is. That must be his pet snake. He's got his Spider-Man top on, which I did a community post. Oh, these Spider-Man tops and Spider-Man outfits keep popping up with these missing boys. Anyway, the search was scaled back as authorities transitioned to the investigative side of the case. So the sheriff's office said that investigators are now working on eliminating and drumming up leads. Authorities added that Sebastian's family has been cooperative with the investigation. So obviously when a child, vanishes from the home, the parents are the first suspects. I mean, it's like, if it's an adult, the partner's the first suspect. That is just, the way it is, basically. And we have to say that, especially after the bloody, horrible stepfather in the Madeline Soto case, stepfathers are often, or stepmothers are often the first suspect, aren't they? And often they are the perpetrator. But I think it's important to say that Sebastian's stepfather was working away a long, long way away at the time. And Sebastian's mother has passed a lie detector test. So his mother did take a lie detector test and she did pass. And his stepfather offered to take a lie detector test, but the police said he didn't need to because his presence was confirmed miles away where he was working. So I think we have to make that clear, that the stepfather wasn't there, and the stepmother has, the mother has passed a lie detector case. So, I think we have to keep that in mind. But days after they said that they were working on eliminating and drumming up leads, the authorities were spotted combing through the landfill where the trash from the teen's neighbourhood ended up. So they're obviously, they're obviously looking into the mother. I think that's just obvious. I don't think I'm saying anything out of hand there or out of line. The fact that they've gone to the landfill site where the rubbish from the neighbourhood goes to is they at least either, they're looking to see if either the mother or anyone who lives locally may have disposed of either Sebastian or his belongings. And they called the search a precautionary measure to eliminate possible options and questions. So, it's one of those things. Anyway, the Kentucky State Police spokesperson Ridge Porter said that the detectives had obtained a search warrant for the Hopkins County Regional Landfill in White Plains. And aerial video footage from local news outlets captured a white tarp covering part of the landfill area while officers were seen digging through the trash for clues. Now, as far as we know, they haven't found anything, but they may have found something. Anyway, on Saturday the 23rd of March, the volunteer organisation, the United Cajun Navy, announced it was deploying a team to aid in the search for Sebastian. So these are the people that were helping with the Riley Strain search. It wasn't them who found Riley. Riley was found by workers in the end. He wasn't even found by a search team. He was found by workers. And, but anyway, this team were helping to find him. And they're a bit like SGI, I suppose, except they're not a private company. They're a voluntary team. And they've gone now to help. So we see the guy from here speaking later, actually, in one of the interviews. So he said, we've had close to 1,500 searches. We've got 1,350 documented, and then we have additional people. I'm sure we've got more on the public safety side. The first 2 days we logged 2,000 search miles, and we haven't had enough time to extrapolate all this. However, there has still been no sign of Sebastian. So the parents have spoken out. We're going to look at a couple of interviews with the parents. Well, the mother. So this is Sebastian's biological mother. This is his stepfather. And we're going to watch them being interviewed and see what we think. But I think it's important, as I say, to remember that the stepfather was miles away. He was working miles away. He's been ruled out by the police. And the mother has taken a lie detector test and she has passed it. But it's important to remember that. So, Chris Proudfoot, the father, the stepfather, said we're on one constant roller coaster analogy always comes up, doesn't it? We're on one constant roller coaster ride of helplessness and hopelessness, many other emotions all in one, and it's a never-ending world because it does not stop. The couple has received backlash for not speaking out earlier, to which they say they should not be judged because no one knows what they're going through. And, they can't win at the moment, to be honest, because if they didn't speak out, everyone would be saying, well, they should speak out. And then they speak out and everyone's examining everything they've said. At the end of the day, she is Sebastian's mother. She was there at the home that night, and it was just her and him. So she may well have done something, but we don't know that she did. So We should not assume that until we find out for sure. So he said, you don't know, and I don't wish you to ever know. Just be kind to people. It's just that simple. There's answers to questions right now that we're searching for desperately, and we just don't have that. So, okay, and they said she had a message for him. We love you so much. We want you to come home and you're not in trouble. And they were on now they've been on quite a few YouTube channels. And we're going to look at a News Nation interview, I think it was, or another news channel interview that they did. So they've been on Chronicles of Olivia, and they've been on Nancy Grace, talking about, so the, we can't, I don't feel bad about sort of talking about them, because they've been public, they've been on YouTube channels, they've been on Nancy Grace, and that's what we're going to look at that and have a look at what they had to say. So Katie explained that evening, her son took the trash out at the end of the driveway, as was his usual chore, and then around 9 p.m. he was told to go to bed. And then she said he was doing something in his room, because about an hour later, I heard some noise, which she later described as a thud. And I was like, I don't care what you're doing in there, but go to sleep. But then at 6 o'clock, she went to wake him up for school, and he was not there. So, okay. And then an Amber Alert was issued, but there's been no success. Nothing, nada has been found. Now, he's supposed to have gone out without any shoes on as well. So it says he was wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, and glasses. Oh, and of course, he needs to take regular medication because of his autism. And it says Sebastian has a medical condition that may impair his ability to return safely without assistance. Okay. So, right. So that's the first thing I just wanted to talk about. Oh, excuse me. I've just had fried onions for dinner. That's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Now, this is something that you may not have seen. This is a news article that says it's from a CCTV camera, and it appears to show two people with flashlights near Sebastian's home. So let's have a look at this video. Let me just bring it back to the beginning.
We begin with a surprising development in the search for 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers, who's been missing for 18 days. An exclusive look at new video evidence. Thanks for joining us here at 6. I'm Rory Johnson.
And I'm Hunter Hoagland. A lot to get to here tonight. Authorities have scrutinized home security video from that Hendersonville neighborhood, trying to learn what happened to that teen with autism.
Now you can take a look for yourself. Our Nick Barris obtained video that appears to show two people near Sebastian's home the night his parents say he disappeared.
The video you're about to see is from early Monday morning, February 26th, around 3:10 a.m. Now, there are no street lights in the Stafford Court neighborhood, so it is at night, pitch black. What you will see here are these 2 points of light, believed to be people with flashlights in the area around Sebastian Rogers' Hendersonville home. It is.
Yeah, now, as we look at this, you've got to think, who are these people?
It's believed Sebastian left his home barefoot and with a flashlight sometime overnight. Since his disappearance, authorities have reviewed security video from homes in the neighborhood looking for clues.
We have had several clips that have come in.
And this one is getting the most attention, showing signs of activity around Sebastian's home the night he disappeared. You see, 2 light sources, which we've circled to help you follow. For point of reference, the security camera was pointed toward the back of Sebastian's home in a common area. In the video, you see subject 1 with a light source in the lower right-hand corner. Then you see subject 2 briefly appear and move toward the first before that light source is covered or obscured by bushes. Subject 1, a few seconds later, then moves out of frame. Then subject 2 reappears and follows subject 1 off screen. It's a short time later and it's very vague, but then you see one of the subjects moving quickly back through the common area, and that is it. I know there's not much to see here. You certainly cannot identify anyone, but
there isn't much to see, but it's still interesting though, isn't it? And I think the fact that that's been released, the police must have released it. They want people to see it for whatever reason. But yeah, it doesn't show much, but it's still relevant, isn't it?
those close to the investigation tell me the mere fact that there is now evidence that someone is in the area around Sebastian.
Let's just have a look at it again, I think. Let's just have a quick look at it again.
Now, there are no street lights in the Stafford Court neighborhood, so it is at night, pitch black. What you will see here are these 2 points of light believed to be people with flashlights in the area around Sebastian Rogers' Hendersonville home. It is believed Sebastian left his home barefoot and with a flashlight sometime overnight. Since his disappearance, authorities have reviewed security video from homes in the neighborhood looking for clues.
We have had several clips that have come in.
And this one is getting the most attention, showing signs of activity around Sebastian's home the night he disappeared. You see 2 light sources, which we've circled to help you follow. For point of reference.
Now, another thing that's important to say, he took a little torchlight with him, apparently. You know, if he went on his own accord, what they're saying is he had those clothes on that I mentioned. No footwear, no footwear. And you'll see later, his mum is asked, how are you certain that he had no footwear on? It's because all his footwear has been accounted for in the house. So when the police have come and they've done the check of what's been taken, etc., all his footwear is in the house. So none of his footwear is missing. So that's why they're so sure that he did not have any shoes on. You know, would anyone go out without any shoes on? This is what makes you think, Anyway, but apparently he did take a small flashlight with him. So, because that's missing. They know that because that's missing. But on this video, there are 2 people with small flashlights.
The security camera was pointed toward the back of Sebastian's home.
They might be big flashlights, but there's 2 people with flashlights.
In a common area. In the video, you see subject 1 with a light source in the lower right-hand corner. Then you see subject 2 briefly appear and move toward the first before that light source is covered or obscured by bushes. Subject 1, a few seconds later, then moves out of frame. Then subject 2 reappears and follows subject 1 off screen. It's a short time later and it's very vague, but then you see one of the subjects moving quickly back through the common area, and that is it. I know there's not much to see here. You certainly.
So is that second one moving back to the house? So is it that one, you know, did he go out and did somebody follow him out and then something happened and then that person returned to the house? You know, I'm sure the police are looking at all this anyway.
Cannot identify anyone, but those close to the investigation tell me the mere fact that there is now evidence that someone is in the area around Sebastian's home is significant. This video shows suspicious activity in the immediate area the night Sebastian disappeared. Could one of these subjects have been Sebastian? Did he meet and leave with someone? Sebastian's father says his son would not go with a stranger.
It's up in the air for me.
So this is Sebastian's biological father speaking. Now, I could have thought that he might have been catfished, but you'll see in the interview that we look at later, he was not allowed to go on social media, etc. So how could he have been? How could he have been lured outside if he wasn't allowed to actually even go on social media? So, you know, that's a bit of a strange one, isn't it?
Because I don't think he would get into a vehicle with somebody unless he knew them.
So what exactly are we seeing here? I know investigators are doing what they can to try enhancing the video for any more clues. For now, this video is now part of the Sebastian Rogers missing person file, and I'm told it could become more significant depending on where the ongoing investigation leads. We'll be following that. Nick Barris, News Channel 5.
Thanks, Nick. Of course, the search for Sebastian continues, with detectives now looking into any possibility of foul play. If you think you can help, call 1-800-TBI-FIND.
Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to show you, because I thought that now we're going to look at Sebastian's biological father. We're going to look at him speaking before we look at his mother and his stepfather speaking.
Low and followed every lead, but still no signs of the Hendersonville teen. So last night, the community came together for a prayer vigil. Dozens of people showed up wearing green, Sebastian's favorite color.
Sebastian's biological father, Seth Rogers, attended that candlelight vigil and for the first time spoke at length about his son's disappearance.
Nick is live from our 5 Alert Center this morning. And Nick, this is his first television interview, and it's with you.
That's right. You know, he's issued a few brief statements by phone, but the rest of the time he says he's been spent focusing on the search for his son, but now finally speaking out publicly on TV. 2 weeks after the teen disappeared, the father says he's not giving up hope.
I'm hoping he's still alive. You know, that's my main hope right now.
That is his focus. Seth Rogers wants to believe his son is still alive somewhere. He says he is in contact with law enforcement every single day. And like them, he says he is completely at a loss to explain exactly what happened to his son. It's a mystery. The working story, of course, is that Sebastian, who has autism, walked away from his Hendersonville home in the middle of the night, barefoot and alone. But Rogers says no. He says it makes absolutely no sense that search crews and bloodhounds have found no trace of the boy, and he says Sebastian was not the type of child who would just wander away like this on his own.
In order for him to actually do something that's out.
Now, Heather, you just asked presumably they've checked his social media. Well, apparently he didn't have any social media. According to his stepfather, we'll see that later, he wasn't allowed on social media.
Out of the normal, something would have had to happen that he just felt that he couldn't deal with anymore.
What that is and how, no one really knows, and Seth Rogers can't explain that. But I can tell you, he doesn't like to think that this is a possibility, but he does not rule out the chance that there is foul play involved in what happened to his son. He knows that if his son could, he would, and is very able. He knows how to work a phone and communicate. He would reach out to the father for help. I can tell you, Seth went on to share a number of other new details. And not only...
So, yes, he does know how to use a phone, having said that. So I'm not sure where his phone is, if he left it at home or what. I'm not sure where his phone is. We might find out later when we're watching the interview.
About the investigation, but personal details about his son, which may help in finding him. I'll have much more on this later this morning and tonight on News Channel 5 at 5 and 6.
Okay, so now we're going to look at another couple of interviews. So we're going to look at another interview with Sebastian's dad, first of all.
That boy. We're joined by Seth Rogers, Sebastian's father. Seth, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so sorry for everything you're going through. We want to get the word out about Sebastian. Hasn't gotten enough national attention. Sebastian, I want to be clear, was with his mom and stepdad when he disappeared, but you're very close to Sebastian. Do you have any idea what may have happened here?
I haven't been, I don't know. I mean, I got a phone call and a text message that I received after I got off of work stating that I needed to give the stepfather a call. I called him, and he was like, Sebastian's missing. Don't be upset or anything, but you need to come to the house. I couldn't. I don't know what happened to him. I haven't seen him in over a month. I've been out here looking for him.
So it's quite upsetting, actually. His dad seems really quite emotional. I mean, and the thing is, I'm, looking at things that people have put in the chat, and I know a lot of you have personal experience with autism, and you could see that he could just, say, right, that's it, I'm going, or whatever, though his mum does say later he's never done this before. It's not a common thing that he did, but he's 15 now, so, kids at 15, they act out, don't they? They do things, and I would imagine if they're autistic, it's even worse, because everything's black and white, isn't it? But the thing is, a month, that you could see that he would walk off and, maybe even for a couple of days. But where is he after a month? He can't just go off and, where's he sleeping? What's he living on? What's he eating? You can't see that he would disappear voluntarily for a month, maybe for a day, maybe even a couple of days, and maybe at a push a week, though I think that would be stretching it a bit. But when he's not been seen for a month, unfortunately, you do feel like something untoward has happened to him.
Seth, I mean, what do they think happened? I mean, could he really have just walked away like that? It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. His shoes are still by the front door. His switch was there. His phone was in the kitchen. It just didn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And I still can't figure it out. I've been looking everywhere, been handing out flyers,
All right. So it seems like his phone was left at home. So really, he didn't take anything with him. So, it's not a good sign, is it? I mean, he's not going to disappear without his phone, without anything, even his shoes.
just trying to keep up hope. And I've reached out to United Cajun Nation to sit there and see if they will help me. And they answered my call.
Yeah, one thing I couldn't understand is why they were telling people not to search at one point. I mean, the shift went to the landfill. It was this investigation, and they're telling people not to search. I couldn't make sense of that. I mean, it made me want, do you have any indication that investigators may know that something bad happened here?
They haven't told me anything, and they told people not to search, but I've been searching since that Monday. I can't just sit around and not do anything. I've got to find my son.
Yeah, I understand. I would be doing the same exact thing as you, and I think everybody around America would be in their hearts.
Well, exactly. How's he going to sit at home and not go out and search? But you understand why the police don't want maybe people to search, because they don't want to compromise any sort of forensic evidence, etc. Yeah, it's very difficult for this guy. And he's been ruled out of the inquiry. He's been, a suspect too. How difficult it must be for him to just sort of sit there and not do anything. Of course he wants to do something.
Have you talked to Sebastian's mom, stepdad? You mentioned you had that conversation when they said, he's gone missing, but have they been able to give any more information?
I haven't spoken to them for at least 2 weeks. They're not talking to me.
There are reports that they have packed up.
So it seems like it's not very friendly, sort of, divorce or whatever. That there's some problems between the mum and the dad and the stepfather, etc. But that's not uncommon, is it? Let's face it. But just going back to what people are saying in the chat there, and I need to reiterate this, the stepfather was working away, and this has been confirmed by the police. The police are not looking on him as a suspect because he was miles away on the night this happened. And he has got a history And we're going to look at that later. But we have to remember it has been cleared because he was he was working away, and it's obviously the police have confirmed that. And he is not a suspect, the stepfather, and he offered to give a lie detector test, and the police said it wasn't necessary because he was not there at the time. So whatever his past is, or whatever he's done in the past, he is not a suspect in this case.
An RV and left the house that Sebastian disappeared from. Any idea why they would do that?
I have no idea. I have no information. They weren't talking to me, so I was out here trying to find my son.
Do you feel that they were taking good care of him?
I've got information from podcasts that they were showing that horrify me.
What do you mean? I mean, were they on podcasts or? I'm sorry, I know this is upsetting, but I just want to understand.
They were going on podcasts, and it was like, it's supposed to be about Sebastian. They wanted to talk about themselves. I don't get that. We need to get Sebastian's face out to everybody. Have them looking for Sebastian. This isn't about me. It's not about his mom. It's not about his stepdad. This is about Sebastian. He needs to be found.
Have they been searching at all? I mean, I know you're out there right now. Have his mom and stepdad been out there too?
I can't answer that question. I don't know. I haven't seen them. And they've not been where I've been handing out flyers or searching. So I couldn't tell you what they've been doing.
I mean, Seth, you know, I'm glad we have the picture up. He looks like such a nice young man. And I mean, would he ever leave barefoot? I know that's something that's perplexed some people. And even people who have children on the autism spectrum have been perplexed by that. Does that make any sense?
It doesn't. It does not make any sense. If he knew he was going to go out walking or anywhere in the yard or whatnot, he would put on socks and shoes. He had a horrible experience as a child with fire ants. He learned. It's always socks and shoes, or at least something on your feet to protect.
I do think it's strange that he left with nothing on his feet, you know, but, you know, people do silly things. Sometimes they're getting a strop and they just, you know, was it like a big argument and he just stormed out? But of course, the mother is saying there was no argument.
You from what's on the ground.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider.
Okay.
And don't forget to click the red subscribe.
So I wanted to show you, you know, his dad talking. Now we're going to have a look. I'm sure you're all keen to see the mother talking and the stepfather talking. And I can honestly say, you know, I don't know what, you know, if the mother had something to do with it. I don't think the stepfather had anything to do with it because he was miles away and he's been, the police have ruled him out as a suspect because it was impossible for him to have anything to do with Sebastian's disappearance. Now, whether he's involved in the cover-up of Sebastian's disappearance is a whole nother matter. But you'll let me know what you think as we watch the mother and stepfather being interviewed. But please remember as well, the mother has passed a lie detector test. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that Sebastian might have been kidnapped or wandered off and maybe come to some, not even foul play, but maybe come to some misadventure, you know. So we have to take all that into account until, you know, everyone's innocent until proven guilty. So we have to remember that. But let's have a look at what his mother and stepfather, the first interview that we're going to look at, about what his mother and stepfather had to say.
school. So we're going to have much more on this story. We're going to be talking to her about what they've been going through, the very latest with the search, also reaction from family. And I even asked them, are they in the clear now? What is the latest with this story? So we'll have much more coming up. But for now, for the latest on the search, I'm going to toss over to Danielle Ledbetter for that part of the story. Danielle.
Yeah, Holly, so you can see that this lot behind me is pretty much empty. This is at the command center. Earlier today, we've seen a lot of first responders leaving this command center. And this is a big difference from what we saw last week. That lot was full with hundreds of first responders all here looking for Sebastian. Now, law enforcement officials told me today that they have thrown everything they possibly can at this search. So we, of course, told you about the dogs, the horses, the drones, but they also brought in cave specialists and people to search underground and storm drains. Eric Craddock with the Sumner County Sheriff's Office said the decision to scale back did not come lightly. He also did say that they will continue to be committed to finding.
So this does remind me a little bit of Samantha Murphy, because they've started off searching everywhere, you know, just a blanket search of all the area around. And then suddenly they decided to scale back the search. And I always think there's a reason for that. So, you know, as they start to get into all the electronic evidence, etc., CCTV, maybe phone pings, etc., not only of, you know, the person who's gone missing, but of people around them. So they changed, you know, they went from sort of the blanket search of the whole area to a specific search of the landfill. You know, so it makes you wonder what the police do know that we don't know, that they've changed course in their investigation.
Sebastian, and there's no indication that he's not alive. Holly.
All right, Danielle with the latest there. Now, much more coming up throughout all our evening shows. Coming up at 4 o'clock, their message for the community. We have lots to get to, but for now, Holly Thompson live here in Hendersonville.
Oh, sorry, the interview must be on a different interview. Hang on. Oh, where's the interview with them? All right, it's disappeared. Well, never mind. We'll go straight into the Nancy Grace interview. Now, I don't know if any of you watched Nancy Grace. I've shown Nancy's videos before on my channel. I love Nancy Grace. I think she's very good. I mean, she was a prosecutor. So, you know, she knows what she's talking about. She was a prosecutor for many, many years. And Sebastian Rogers' mum and his stepdad agreed to an interview with Nancy. She's not the only person they've been interviewed with. They've done quite a few interviews now. But I do think this interview is very interesting. Go over and subscribe to Nancy Grace if you like the, you know, if you watch this video and you like the style of her interviewing. I found that it felt like she was cross-examining them, but without cross-examining them. You know, she put them at their ease, you know, and they were answering her questions, but it was in a way a cross-examination. And I found it very interesting seeing the way they responded. And, you know, see what you think.
Morning, 6 a.m. From everything we can tell, that is the moment that Sebastian's mom and stepdad realize he's gone. For just one moment, imagine that. You go in your child's room where you find your child every single school day morning and you wake them up, but at 6 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, and it's right. Imagine that. You could, because you just sort of, you know, I mean, obviously my son is not at school any longer, you know, he's an adult now, but looking back at when I would wake him up for school, you shout up the stairs. That's what I would do. So I would always be up, always I was up first. I don't understand parents who just let the kids get ready and go off themselves or whatever. I was always up first. get things ready for me and for him. And obviously as he got older, you're doing less and less, and you hope that they'll do. I don't remember actually doing less and less. I was still doing everything, but that's just me and the way I am. But yeah, then it's the call up the stairs, isn't it? The first call, you're shouting them like, "Oh, come on, you vote," because my son would put his alarm on, but he would sleep through it. So you shout him, and you give him 10 minutes, nothing, no sign of anything, anybody emerging. Talk about when they're a teenager by now, you shout them again. So the thought of sort of going into your son's bedroom or daughter's, and they just weren't there when they're only 15 years old. Oh my God. What you'd go in and the bed was made. You'd be thinking, where the hell are they? What would you even think? I wouldn't be able to come up with any reason why my son won't be in his room, especially because the way my house is, if he was to come out, I'm sure I would hear him. My house is not so big that you wouldn't hear someone, but you don't know. But do you see what I'm saying? She's right, what she's saying. The thought of going into your son's room or your daughter's room or your child's room, and there they were, gone, and you didn't know where they were. It must just be that awful sinking feeling.
He's not there. Can you imagine what must have gone through their minds? First of all, I want you to hear what his bio mom, Katie Proudfoot, says. Listen.
When I woke him up for school, he wasn't there. I took a second and walked through the house looking for him in case he'd gotten up and was trying to get.
Now, watch the rocking. This actually is the interview with the other person that they were interviewed with. Now, remember when we watched, this was a little bit of a red flag, because when we watched Jen Soto being interviewed, Madeline Soto's mum, she does that rocking as well. So, just that was a little bit of a red flag, but it's like a comfort, that, isn't it? I do that. I know that I do it when I'm anxious or whatever. And of course, she is going to be anxious. But
get breakfast or something, because he did that sometimes. About 3 minutes in, give or take, I was on the phone with my husband. I said, I can't find him. He said, what do you mean you can't find him? I said, he's not in the house.
Can't find him. Where is he? And in the last days, we learned that the official law enforcement search is actually scaling back. This as TikTokers and YouTubers are flooding the area, conducting their own searches. Listen to Eric Craddock, Chief Deputy, Sumner County Sheriff's.
Really wanted to come to the community and ask for your help. We need you to search your properties every day, morning and night. If there's a shed or a crawl space or up under your mobile home or a tarp that's in your yard, check it every morning and check it every night. Look for any details that something has been disturbed. If there's a shirt that was there today that wasn't there yesterday, notify us. You can really help us by searching your own property twice a day. Like I said, we're operating under the assumption that Sebastian walked off, and we really need your help to ensure that he is brought home safely.
We are trying to determine what happened when this young boy, an autistic young boy, seemingly walks out of his own home in the middle of the night, we think, barefoot. How did that happen? I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us here at Crime Stories and on SiriusXM 111. We've read a lot online. We've seen a lot of theories, a lot of speculation. But let's start with what we know to be true.
Now, the other thing I want to say is I think that's important too. We have to just deal with facts. I know there's quite often people send me links and things to psychics or this, that, and the other, and it's not that I don't have any faith in psychics. I have a lot of respect for psychics and things, but I don't, as far as I'm concerned, on my channel, I just want to deal with what actually we know is true, not what somebody thinks might be true, whether they're psychic or not, or someone speculating. I don't think it's helpful at all. Maybe later you can look back, but the police can't deal with that, can they? They can't deal with, oh, well, such and such said that they thought they were near water, or, with all due respect, and sometimes I have little flashes of things like that, but, it's not a fact. It's not a fact. It can't be dealt with like that. And I think it's important to remember that. So this is what we do know. So he went missing on February the 26th at 6:30 a.m. Well, that's when the mother went to wake him up. So we don't know exactly what time he left the house. And he was last seen wearing black sweatpants, black sweatshirt, glasses, no shoes. And he left with a small flashlight. I do think somehow this flashlight is very, very relevant. Anyway, so on the 27th of February, an Amber Alert was issued, but then by the 4th of March, again, very similar to the Samantha Murphy case, after just really a week of searching, the search was scaled down. And I think what probably happened then is, for whatever reason, they got information about something, like I think happened in the Samantha Murphy case, because suddenly one minute they were searching left, right and centre, saying there was no suspicious circumstances in the Samantha Murphy case, and then the next minute the missing persons team comes in and it's all changed. It's suspicious, the search has been scaled down and pinpointed to a certain area. So I think that that's what happened here as well. I think that when the search was scaled down on the 4th of March, it was for a reason. And then the Kentucky landfill was searched on the 7th of March, and that will have been for a reason as well. We just don't know what the reason is yet, that's all.
Joining me right now, an all-star panel. But first, I'm going to go to two special guests joining us.
Hi, Ocean. Hi, Ebo. Nice to see you.
Katie and Chris Proudfoot. This is Sebastian's biological mother.
So here we've got Katie, his mum, and Chris, his stepdad. So see what you make of him.
And his stepfather, who were in their home with Sebastian when he goes missing. To both of the Proudfoots, thank you for being with us. I want to go straight back to when Sebastian goes missing. Miss Proudfoot, I understand that the day before, which would have been Sunday, if I've got the information correct, that you guys went out, you went to dinner, you went to somewhere, I believe you said BJ's, where he had a, quote, colossal popcorn. Then you came home that night, and around 9 p.m., you tell Sebastian to go to bed. He says, okay, and goes to his room. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That night, I understand from previous statements you've made that you went to bed around midnight. Is that correct?
It is.
Now, I must say, when I first started watching this interview, I did think they do just look totally exhausted, totally, they've had enough of all of it. The thing is, you can look at body language as much as you want. You'll never know what's really going on in someone's head. You can see people screaming, crying and looking really upset, and actually it ends up it was them who did it. And then you can see people like this who look sort of totally devoid of emotion, to be honest, but probably just exhausted, wrung out to dry, who maybe haven't done anything. I mean, I don't know what they've done or what they haven't done. And so I just want to keep hold of that because I just want, we just do not know exactly what is going on here. And they just do look exhausted, I think.
And to you, Mr. Proudfoot, Chris Proudfoot, did you also go to bed at midnight or before or after?
No, ma'am. We went to bed around the same time as we were on the phone together.
And
He was not home.
please excuse any of my questions. I'm simply trying to find out more about that night. Do you two sleep in the same bedroom?
He wasn't actually in the home at all that weekend.
You were not home.
No,
okay.
ma'am.
So where were you, Mr. Proudfoot?
I was in Memphis, Tennessee.
How far away is that?
3 hours and 37 minutes from doorstep to doorstep.
And what were you doing in Memphis?
Working.
Where do you work?
I'm currently working, or was working, at the St. Jude Children's Hospital.
So Nancy makes me laugh. She's got a notepad there, and she's just like, yeah, your child might be missing, but I'm just going to ask the questions as if I'm prosecuting you, in court. She just does her thing, like her, love her or loathe her, whatever. She just does her thing that she's done for years. She's asking the questions, she's noting down the answers, and she's clever in the questions that she asks, I think.
Construction project.
Yes, I'm very familiar with St. Jude's. You said you were working there. Are you no longer working there?
Right now, that's up in the air.
Well, you've been gone ever since Sebastian went missing, so I understand. When you are home, do you two sleep in the same bedroom?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this a 3-bedroom home?
Yes, ma'am.
Where is your room?
Like she don't get it. Oh, when you're home, do you sleep in the same bedroom? It's a wonder they didn't just say, well, mind your own business. But, they're just answering her. She's just asking what she feels like asking, as if they were on the stand.
As it relates to Sebastian's room?
It's on the opposite end of the house. The master bedroom's on one side, and the other 2 bedrooms are on the other side of the house.
Okay, so your master bedroom is on one side of the house and Sebastian's room is on the other side of the house. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you have a 3rd bedroom that I believe you keep for your other daughter. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that Faith? Is your other daughter named Faith?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So where is Faith's bedroom as it relates to Sebastian's bedroom?
It's in the back side of the house. Sebastian's bedroom
So
on the front side of the house.
Okay. So his bedroom is away from Faith's bedroom and away from your master bedroom. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is Sebastian's room on a top floor or a ground level?
We have a ranch style house. It's a 1.5 story. So everything's flat, and then you have the bonus room above the garage.
Okay. So his is on ground floor, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That morning, was there any sign of a break-in through a window, a front door, a back door, a sliding glass door, anything at all?
No, ma'am.
Okay. No sign of forced entry. Was anything taken from the home at all?
Not that we could find anything. We couldn't find anything missing.
I want to circle back.
Okay, so nothing taken from the home, from what they say. Do you see by looking at them, he looks, to be honest, he looks sort of almost like he's lost the will to live, doesn't he? He's like, he's really got that sort of hopeless look. it's very odd. That now, just let me tell you where they are. They're in a RV. You know, they're living in an RV. They don't want to say where they're living at the moment. They have moved out of the home, both of them. He's going back to work. Well, 1 minute he says he's not at work, then he says he's going back to work. She says she's not going back to work, but she's going off to live with him. So they're leaving the home, which is quite odd, really, isn't it, in a sense? Because if they thought he'd gone off, you know, of his own accord and got lost or whatever, wouldn't they be thinking he may come back to the house because that's the place he knows? But then they went on to say they didn't think he would come back to the house. They seem to have given up hope, I think, because, you know, for them to leave the house, you know, both of them, they're obviously giving up the hope that he's ever going to come back to the house. So, you know, and they're probably getting harassed at the house as well. They don't want to say where they're living because they've had so much, you know, horrible attention on social media, etc. You know, they don't want to leave the house. They don't want to stay in the house. So you can sort of understand it and not understand it at the same time. You know, they've had a lot of hate, obviously, which is awful if they're not guilty, but I suppose is understandable as well. So, you know, at the end of the day, I've never been in that position. I hope I'm never in that position. You know, I've had a little bit of trolling on social media, haven't I, on YouTube, etc. They've probably had like 1 million times that, and they're not YouTubers or whatever. I expect it's been bloody awful, to be honest.
Back to Sebastian's shoes regarding if anything was missing. Do you have a burglar alarm?
No, ma'am.
Do you have a Ring doorbell cam?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Have the two of you taken a polygraph?
I have.
I have not.
Would you be willing to?
I've offered and volunteered on many occasions to take a polygraph, and I was told directly by law enforcement because of my whereabouts, I did not need one.
So this is where she says that she has done a polygraph. He has offered to do a polygraph, but the law enforcement has told him he doesn't need to do one because they know for sure he was not there. He was not there. It's nothing to do with him, the actual disappearance of Sebastian. Whether it's to do with her or not, and whether afterwards he tried to cover up for her or helped to cover up, I don't know. But one thing that is a fact is he was not there. So the actual disappearance of Sebastian is not because of him.
I understand. Ms. Proudfoot, did you pass your polygraph?
I did.
Those questions out of the way. Was Faith in the home when Sebastian went missing?
No, ma'am.
Does anyone else have a key to your home?
The thing is, it's the police that have told him that he shouldn't take a polygraph. You'll see later, Nancy offers to set up a polygraph for him and he agrees to it. I'm not saying, you know, I believe him or I believe her. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. You've got to look at the facts. He offered to do a polygraph. The police said it wasn't necessary for him to do one. She's done one. She's passed it. Now Nancy has offered to set up a polygraph for him and he has said yes, he'll do it. So we'll see what happens. But we'll deal with the facts.
Beside your immediate family?
No.
No, ma'am.
That night, Miss Proudfoot, at midnight when you went to bed, what did you do until midnight?
I had been reading a chapter that I needed to, and I had been talking to my husband on the phone. I was falling asleep on him, so that's when he told me it was around midnight. He told me to go ahead and put the dogs up and go to bed, and that's what I did. I got up, put the dogs where they sleep, and then I myself went to bed.
Where do they sleep?
They have a big pen.
A pen, is it inside or outside?
Inside.
Inside. That reminds me of another question. Do you guys have a motion sensor light or lights on the outside of your house?
Yes, we do have lights on the outside of our house.
Did they activate that night?
They're not motion censored. We have lights.
Were they on that night?
No,
Okay.
ma'am.
Were they on that night? So the lights were out the whole night?
Yes, ma'am. We don't typically turn the floodlights on.
Were there any lights outside the house on at all?
Just my little solar lights that we have in the garden.
There's two.
Something else I just wanted to say about the polygraph, because I do think polygraphs, thing is, you're sort of damned if you do or you're damned if you don't. So if you were offered, if you're innocent, if you were accused of a crime and you knew you were innocent, really, you've just got to think, I'm going to take the polygraph, aren't you? You know, surely you wouldn't even think twice about taking a polygraph if you were innocent. So that's what I'm saying. She did take the polygraph. So that's confusing, isn't it? But the thing is, if she hadn't have taken the polygraph, like Anna's husband, Anna Knezevich, at the location, when I went on location to Madrid, her husband has refused a polygraph. He's been offered a polygraph by the FBI and he's refused it. So everyone's now obviously thinking, oh, he's refusing a polygraph, he must be guilty. But then he could have taken the polygraph, it could test positive and make, that's why they're not admitted in a court of law. Polygraphs are not admitted in a court of law because they are not 100%, they are not 100% reliable, are they? Now, she's taken a polygraph, maybe and she's passed it, but maybe she was lying. Maybe she's just that, did it. He's offered to take a polygraph and he's been told he doesn't need to take one. So they can cause a lot of problems.
Two lights on the side of the house above the garage that are on at all times.
Oh, yeah, those are on.
Oh, there's a light above the garage. It's on at all times?
There's two. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So those lights were on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is because I heard you say earlier, Mr. Proudfoot, that your neighbors have been very, very forthcoming with their Ring camera info. And I was trying to determine if any lights were on, what, if anything, they may have caught. But I understand from your previous interviews that nothing of any evidentiary value was caught. And also, in another statement you gave, I understand that the video of the two flashlights, and I'm saying that with air quotes, that's not exactly what that was at all. We now don't believe that two flashlights were observed around your home. Is that correct?
Yes.
You're very correct.
Okay. Question regarding your vehicles. Ms. Proudfoot, what make and model do you drive?
I drive a
Now watch Nancy. Now she gets the cars out of them. Now the make and model of the cars. She's got them on the stand, and they don't even seem to realise it. But having said that, I honestly do think if you were guilty, you wouldn't want to come on Nancy Grace's show. If you were you might go on other YouTubers' shows and what have you, and hope for the best. But I don't think you'd want to come on Nancy Grace's show if you were guilty, which doesn't mean they're not guilty. I'm not saying that. I don't know if they're guilty or not, but I'm just saying Nancy Grace, is a person that if you were guilty, you would probably avoid their show like the plague, I think.
Infinity SUV.
Year?
2017.
And sir, what do you drive?
I drive a diesel truck, Chevrolet.
Year?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it's a 2021, I think.
So your Infinity SUV was parked in the garage or outside the garage that night, Miss Proudfoot?
In the garage.
In the garage. And Mr. Proudfoot, your vehicle was on location in Memphis. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So there's only one car at the home. Is that right?
There was actually a work vehicle in the driveway at the time as well, but it hasn't moved. We can't give out that information because we don't have permission from her work.
I don't understand that. What?
About the make and model of the vehicle.
I have a work van that was
I don't understand that. What? And you know, I can see some of you are saying you don't like Nancy, but do you know what? It's not, to me, it's not a question of whether I like her or not. I don't know her, so I don't know if I like her or not, but I do respect her. I do think she's a really good interviewer, and you don't have to like someone to respect that. And she's not shy of asking them whatever question, you know, even though it's she's just sort of, you know, she just is what she is. So I have a lot of respect for Nancy, and I enjoy watching her interviews.
also parked in the driveway.
Why is that? If it's out in the driveway where people can see it, why is that privileged information?
We just don't have permission from her company to divulge that information.
Now, just watch. This is the thing is what we have to remember about Nancy is she's been a prosecutor for years. You know, a prosecuting attorney for years. She knows exactly the right questions to ask. You can just see her face there where he says, "Oh, we don't have permission, you know, to give the details of her work model." Watch how she just sort of demolishes him now. She knows all the right questions to ask.
Have you asked?
No, ma'am, we have not. Nobody's asked.
So he says, "We don't have permission to release the details of the car." So she goes, "Well, have you asked?" And he goes, "No, we haven't asked." And look at her face. A face, if you talk about a face could, you know, say a million words, Nancy's face can always say it.
Asked us
So
that
that
question,
was-
to be honest with you.
Okay, so you have a work van. Question to you, Miss Proudfoot, what do you do for a living?
I am an installation technician.
That night, was the work van blocking your driveway? Could someone go in and out of your driveway?
The van is parked at the back of my driveway, so someone can pull in, yes.
Got it. Do you park your Infinity SUV in the garage or outside the garage?
In the garage.
In the garage. Do you have an automatic garage door?
With the clicker.
Right. Do you leave that up or down at night?
Down.
Could anybody lift it up? Like, is there an on and off button outside, or do you have to know a code or have the clicker to open it?
You'd have to know the code or have the clicker.
Does Sebastian know the code?
Not to the garage door, but to the man doors.
Not to the garage door, but to the house doors?
The regular door, yes.
So is there a code to get in your home, or do you use a regular key?
I love the way she just gets the. I think she's brilliant. I think she's absolutely brilliant. I think she's, you know, of course she's not going to be popular with everybody because she's going to get on people's nerves. But you know what? She's a prosecutor. She's not there to be nice to people. She's there to deliberately get on people's nerves and get to the truth of things. And it's people like Nancy that get things done.
There's a code.
And he knows that code.
Yes, ma'am.
Question. I'm just trying to figure out how he would have gotten out, or if somebody came into the home. Could they have gotten through the garage door? No, unless they know the code or had the clicker, which they did not. Do you lock your doors at night?
Yes, ma'am.
Could he have left on his own through those doors?
He could. Yes, ma'am.
But I heard in another interview where Mr. Proudfoot said he was not a, quote, wanderer. He didn't wander around. He had never left the home before on his own. Is that right?
Correct. We haven't had issues with him running or taking off in the past.
Okay, let me ask you a couple of questions regarding the doors. Do you have any home surveillance, anything at all that would have given us an idea or a clue if the door had been opened or not, or a window?
Not directly from our house.
Well, then from where?
That's what we were hoping, that neighborhood Ring cameras and may have picked something up.
Gotcha. I want to go back to that night. You said you were up till midnight. You were reading something. What were you reading?
A chapter for school.
A chapter for school. Are you in school?
I was, yes, ma'am. I've since dropped my classes for the time.
What are you studying?
Business administration.
Gotcha. Where do you go to school?
Yeah, DMV, I agree. I think she's very clever with her questions. And the other thing she does is she asks questions that she knows the answer. She's a prosecutor. One thing you know about prosecutors is they only ask questions that they already know the answer to. They ask a question, they know the answer before they ask it to see if the person is telling the truth or not. And then every now and again, they just throw in like a whizzer here or there. You know, this woman, like her or not, she's an experienced prosecutor. And I found this whole interview is brilliant, I think. Really, really good how things she gets out of him.
DeVry.
So that night you go to bed at midnight after you've been talking to Mr. Proudfoot on the phone. You put the dogs away in a cage, a crate inside the home, and you go to bed. Did you check on Sebastian at that time?
I did not.
Okay. Do you normally?
Not typically. Since he's gotten older, I've not been checking on him as frequently throughout the night because normally he's good to go in his room once he goes to bed.
Earlier, you had stated you heard a noise in his room before you went to bed. What time was that?
Around 10 o'clock.
10 p.m.
Yeah, this was a funny thing. She said that at about 10 o'clock, she heard a thud. She describes it now as a thud. All the dogs are coming to say hello now. Hello. But he did answer when she shouted up to him, "What's that noise?" She said he did answer.
What did it sound like?
Just a thud.
A thud. You stated that you said, "Look, I don't care what you're doing in there. Go to bed." Is that right?
I was on the couch, which is near his room, and I said, "Bubba, did you fall out of the bed?" And he said, "No, ma'am." And I said, "Well, whatever you're doing in there, knock it off and go to sleep."
So you heard his voice at 10 p.m.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any idea what the sound actually was?
I do not, no.
If he were to go out his window, what would he step on?
Mulch and bushes.
Did you say mulch or mush?
Mulch.
Mulch.
Mulch. Okay. Got it. Has he ever gone out the window before?
No, ma'am.
Is his room on the front of the house or the back of the house?
Front.
Front. Do any of your neighbors' ring cams point toward your house? Could they pick that up?
They do, but it's so dark that they can only see it after it gets so dark at night. They can only see certain things where there's light.
I thought there were the two lights on
the opposite side of the house.
Okay. Can we talk about Sebastian's shoes? Why are you convinced Sebastian left without shoes on? Or are you?
Well, the reason that came about is because all of his shoes are accounted for inside the house still.
Are you positive?
I'm positive.
How do you know what clothes he was wearing?
The clothes that we described are the ones I saw him in when he went to bed.
That morning, you woke up at 6 o'clock. Is that the normal time you wake up?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, she said that the clothes that she said that she last saw him in were the ones he wore to go to bed. There were quite a lot of clothes, apart from shoes. You know, it was the black tracksuit bottoms and the top, etc. But, yeah. I tell you, I don't think this stepfather was anywhere near that place, but he may know something if something has happened between the mother and the son. Because, you know, we all know if you've got teenagers or had teenagers or, you know, they're difficult. And if Sebastian was on the spectrum, you know, he maybe would have been even more difficult. And it won't have been a bed of roses. It's not a bed of roses with any 15-year-old. I don't care what anyone says. You're going to have problems. You're going to have arguments. There's going to be issues. Because that's just when there's a clash, isn't there, of personalities, etc. And like a power struggle, you know, they're trying to assert their personality. You're trying to think of them like they're still about 5 or whatever, because that's how they always feel to you, no matter how old they get. So there obviously were, I expect there most definitely, certainly 100% were some issues in that household. But that in itself is not unusual. So I don't think you can think of that as a basis for someone actually killing someone, you know. And he was 15. I'm just thinking when my son was 15, you know, he was like bloody 6 foot tall already. I don't know how tall he was. I don't know how they were in, you know, but normally a 15-year-old can more or less defend themselves.
Are you a heavy sleeper?
Off and on.
Do you take any medication at night that would make you sleep?
No, ma'am.
But you heard nothing?
I did not, no.
So we know he is alive and well at 10 p.m. At 6 a.m. He's gone. You say he's never left before. Is that right?
Correct. He's never run off before.
And could I confirm, where was his bio dad at the time he went missing?
I believe he was at work in Nashville.
Had there been any family argument or altercation prior to him going missing?
No, ma'am.
And Mr. Proudfoot, when did you leave town?
Early February.
So you had been gone for days before he went missing. Is that correct?
Correct, ma'am.
Had you visited home since you left?
You said from when I initially left?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I came home February 26th, the morning I was told that he was missing.
From the time that you left for...
So she's trying to get to the bottom now of whether he was actually there or not. So he's saying he came home on February the 26th. when he was told that he was missing. But, you know, now I'll tell you what, bloody hell, you don't need a police interrogator when you've got Nancy.
For the job in Memphis to February 26th, did you visit the home?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
I was home. I can't give exact dates. Law enforcement has told me not to provide exact dates, but I had been home multiple times prior to February. And then I left early February and then didn't come back till February 26th, the morning he was missing.
So you were not home from the time you left early February till Feb 26. Is that right?
Correct, ma'am.
Where were you living in Memphis?
I have an RV trailer that I stay in at an RV park.
RV park. Okay. Following back up on that morning, you search the home, Ms. Proudfoot. Then you get in your vehicle and you start searching. Did Sebastian know how to drive?
No, ma'am.
Was your car in the same location when you woke up that morning as it was the night before?
Yes, ma'am.
Has your car been searched by police?
Multiple times. Yes, ma'am.
Have scent dogs looked at your car?
Yes, ma'am.
So your car's in the same place. You get in the car, you start looking in the neighborhood for him. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then you call Mr. Proudfoot, right?
I believe I was already on the phone with him at that point.
Okay. Question. Who called 911?
I did.
You did.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
time?
Without looking at a call log, I can't give you the exact time, but on or about 6:20.
And had you guys been talking on the phone before 6 a.m. or did you initially call Mr. Proudfoot at the time you realized Sebastian was gone?
I called him when I realized Sebastian was gone.
Have you guys been out looking for Sebastian?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
We were given information that you guys have left the home. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
I'm going back to work.
You're going back to work. What about you, Miss Proudfoot?
No, I'm not going back to work. Not yet, at least.
Did you leave the home also?
Now, it turns out, so he's saying he's going back to work. She says she's not going back to work. Well, they're on their way back to his work. They may even be at his work when they're doing this. We don't know exactly where they are. But he's going back to work. And to be fair, he probably has to work. I mean, let's not forget, it's all very well, oh, he's going back to work. But, you know, what are you going to live on if you don't go back to work? And she has left the home and she's going with him back to where he works. As I say, probably already is back where he works. And they've abandoned the home, really, in a sense, for all sorts of reasons. So, yeah, it's definitely, you know, there's something odd, isn't there? There's something odd, but who knows how they would feel in this circumstance? Sebastian's been missing for a month. They're probably feeling he's not going to just walk back into the house now. They look tired. They look exhausted. And, you know, who knows how we might react if we were ever, unfortunately, in that position. So, do you know, all these mystery cases at the moment with this, with Samantha Murphy, this case, and Anna Knezovich in Madrid, etc. It's like makes your head boggle, doesn't it?
Miss Proudfoot.
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
to accompany my husband going back to work, and then I'm coming back.
Okay, when will you be back? Do you know yet?
No, not yet.
Are you concerned about being away while the search is ongoing?
Absolutely, I am.
Then why are you going?
Because my son could be anywhere, and we're looking everywhere and anywhere.
I've got a question for you.
Yes,
I want
ma'am.
to find out about Mr. Proudfoot hitting Sebastian with a belt. What happened?
That was actually several years ago.
Now, this is something that people mentioned on the chat before, and I didn't go into it because we're going to look at it now. Look at it from their, in their own words. Let's see what they have to say about it. He did hit Sebastian with a belt. Why? I don't know. Because, listen, it's very sensitive, this subject of corporal punishment for children now, isn't it? I don't know about you, but certainly when I was young, it was just one of those things that people did. I'm not saying it was right. It wasn't right. But it just was a norm in those days, right or wrong. Now, of course, it isn't. So why he did it, hit Sebastian with a belt on his buttocks, he says. Why you would do it? I mean, that's like going back in time, 40 years, never mind sort of just 3 years. So I'm not sure why he did that. Even now, even though I've seen the interview and I've seen his answers, I'm not sure, it was a horrible thing to do and he should never have done it. Nobody should, not with a belt on, though he says it was through his clothes, at least didn't take down his bloody pants to do it. But it's still a disgusting thing to do, isn't it? Why would he do that? It's different from just smacking him on the leg or whatever. And even that these days would be frowned upon. But it is awful. And he did do it. He does admit he did it. I think it was about 3 years ago.
And it
To
was
Mr. Proudfoot. To Mr. Proudfoot. To Mr. Proudfoot.
Yes,
Mr. Proudfoot, what happened?
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. I thought you were asking Katie. Sebastian had gotten in trouble. He got caught lying. And I had asked him, I said, hey, you got to have a punishment for this. He says, yes, sir. And I said, okay. So I gave him a swat with a belt on his buttocks on the outside of his clothes. One swat.
What did he lie about?
I honestly don't remember at the time, but it was probably something dealing with school because that's majority where his issues lie.
I don't believe that he doesn't remember what it's about. If you've been so angry with someone that you've actually took a belt to them, you will remember what it's about, surely. Or if you don't remember what it's about, then that's really worrying, because if it wasn't important enough for you to, when you hit someone with a belt, wasn't important enough for you to know to remember what it was about, that's a bit scary, I think.
Did he have other issues at school?
Some behavioral stuff, but nothing too crazy.
What kind of behavioral stuff?
He has a hard time. He's like awkwardly socially like blending in with students. So it's a little, he's trying to figure out how to do it, but respecting people's space. He gets a little too close. And then kids don't really accept that too much. So it kind of causes an issue. But he'll not stop and he continues on. So then it causes an issue. And instead of being honest about it, he'll lie like, no, I didn't. Okay, Sebastian.
We're lying about doing
Was that the first time? Was that the first time you had ever hit him with a belt?
Yes, ma'am. The one and only time, actually.
When was this?
Years ago, ma'am.
Any idea how many? 3, 10, 1?
It probably at least 3 years ago.
I don't understand how that turned into a CPS or Child Protective Services complaint. How were they alerted that you hit him with a belt?
That did not turn into a CPS service call.
There were other CPS reports, right? Were they regarding your other child?
There is one in regards to my daughter that I know of out in New Mexico with my ex-wife and myself.
What happened?
At the time, my ex-wife had fled to New Mexico with my daughter. We were going through a custody and a divorce case at that time. And at the time, when I'd call and try to check in on my daughter, I could never reach my ex-wife at that time. So a welfare check was requested. Law enforcement told me to call CPS if I had concerns. So I called CPS. Law enforcement did make a welfare call, and that was it.
Then how does that turn into a CPS complaint against you?
I have no idea, ma'am. There's a lot of misinformation out there right now in regards to my New Mexico case that actually has no relevance to the Sebastian case.
Then was there even a CPS complaint against you in New Mexico?
Not that I am aware of. And my attorney and myself are well educated on my case, and there's nothing that we know of.
Was there a TRO taken out against you regarding your daughter?
Not a TRO, but a TPO.
A temporary protective order. Why was that taken out?
So in regards to that case, my ex-wife had a TPO put against her in Tennessee at the time. When we went to court, that got dissolved. I was ordered to hand my daughter back over to my ex-wife at the time. She gets in a truck. She fleds to New Mexico. 2 days later, she files one in retaliation.
Is it still in place?
No, ma'am. That was dropped within, I think, 2 weeks of it being put in place.
I've got a question about the belt incident. You're telling me that was the only time that you ever hit Sebastian with a belt?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're also telling me that did not make it to CPS?
No, ma'am, that did not.
This is why I love Nancy. So she's sort of like, okay, where do we go now? Like, so she's being very nice and polite, but you can tell she's really pissed off, really. But that particular incident did not go to Child Protection Services. So, you know, who knows why? Who knows? Oh my God. I think, you know, this is definitely a relationship of, in my opinion, you know, I'm not saying that they did anything to Sebastian because I don't know what happens to Sebastian. But you can see he rules the roost. He's the boss and she's a bit the boss. Just the way they say yes, mom, and no, mom, and all that. And it seems all very polite. But also, you know, it is a sort of an insight into the way they look at how you have to, you know, you have to treat people with respect, you know, which fair enough, you do have to treat people with respect. But you don't have to refer to people as mom and sir. Is that what they had to do in the house? The children refer to him as sir and her as mom. You know, this is how I feel about this relationship. Whatever the truth of what happened to Sebastian, which, as I say, I'm not saying that means they did something to him. But I do think in this relationship, in this household, he is the boss. She's the second boss. And, you know, the kids are just like, you know, just have to toe the line. That's how it feels.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Regarding Faith's furniture.
Yes,
A few
ma'am.
days after Sebastian goes missing, did you replace furniture in Faith's room?
No, ma'am. I have not replaced any furniture in my daughter's room.
Is there any new furniture in the home?
Yes, ma'am. There's a bed that was given to me, and it's currently in my garage.
Has anything been taken out of the home?
No, ma'am.
I was curious about a statement that Miss Proudfoot made earlier that canine dogs hit on the barn around the home and near a retention pond. Did that happen?
I'm not sure about the barn, but the retention pond, yes.
Because law enforcement says the dogs did not hit. But Miss
There's
Proudfoot says they did hit around the retention pond.
So there's been a lot of miscommunication in regards to what is and what is not.
I just want to refer to something that Faye says there, which is true as well. I don't know if it comes up on this video, but it said that Sebastian was just about to go and live with his biological father. So maybe there was some animosity going on about that, but I don't know the whole details of that. So I have to say, although I have heard that and I agree with Faye with what she's saying, I don't know that for certain as a fact. So just be aware of that. That's all. But I had heard that, which could cause a problem, couldn't it?
To help clear that up, law enforcement has actually spoken directly with me, showed me a few things. What I can tell you is from day one, there was 5 dogs that started the scent for the search. And then after that, from the next 8 days out from that, there have been dogs from all over the country that have come in and done searches and had scent hits in various locations. But I would say
Now, I just want to make a comment about this because you'll probably hear it, but I know sometimes when people are in the chat and that they don't necessarily hear what is being said. While Sebastian was being searched for, there was a cadaver dog alerted during, a search. And some YouTubers were live streaming at the time. And of course, saw this dog alert to a scent, if you like, to presumably of a dead body, because it was a cadaver dog. And there was a big hoo-ha, and it was all over social media. And anyway, it wasn't Sebastian. And how it's turned out, what it has turned out to be, was where they were searching was near a homeless encampment. And very sadly and very unfortunately, there was a homeless person had died on this encampment. And that is what the cadaver dog alerted to. So it was a dead body, but it was not Sebastian's dead body. But so now you'll see later as we go into this video, people are begging really for YouTubers not report on things. They're saying it's important, not only YouTubers, but TikTokers, etc. There's no criticism of social media. And you'll see that Nancy Grace is full of praise for social media. That it is especially remember the Gabby Petito case, which I always mention. Gabby Petito's body would still be there now if it was not for YouTubers, TikTokers, social media people, that found the footage of Gabby Petito's van and pinpointed the point where Gabby Petito was buried. Gabby Petito would probably never have been found otherwise. So, and Nancy mentions this later on, it's important that social media keeps, highlighting things. And of course, the Riley strain, they found that his credit card, etc. But the one thing that they do say later is not to do live streams. That's all. That it's different later, that, you know, a stream can be, you know, take their videos and then see what, I mean, if that would have turned out to be Sebastian, that'd be different. But it wasn't Sebastian, but it caused all this great big furore on social media, etc. And it was not him. So what they're asking, if you like, is please don't take live streams, for YouTubers not to live stream searches and things like that. Because if it turns out something like that that's misleading, looked like Sebastian had been found, because the dog alerted to, you know, the cadaver dog alerted, and everyone could see that it had. But it was not Sebastian. Very unfortunately, it was a homeless person who had deceased, had died in this homeless encampment. Very sad. Very, very sad. But of course, it caused this great big stir and furore on social media. So they will go on to say that, as I say, not saying to them not to video, not saying to them not to be there, but not to live stream from these kind of scenes, which I think is fair enough, to be honest.
A certain percentage of them tend to go toward the same spot, which would have been a retention pond.
So the law enforcement dogs did not hit on the retention pond. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying they did. There was at least 3 that I know for a fact that did hit on the retention pond.
And the pond has been drained, correct? And there was nothing there.
Yes, ma'am. They have walked it, drained it, and there's nothing. The retention pond was only knee deep anyways.
On one occasion, Mr. Proudfoot, you stated that you and Mrs. Proudfoot have been, quote, vetted and cleared of foul play. That was stated on Chronicles of Olivia. Is that true? What do you mean by that?
Yes. So after working with law enforcement of all agencies, they have actually told us that there is no foul play, no nefarious issues. We've been cleared of all wrongdoing. We are working extremely cooperative with all law enforcement agencies at any point in time that they've called, come to the house, anything.
Was Sebastian angry or upset before he disappeared?
No, ma'am.
Not to my knowledge.
What is your theory about where is Sebastian?
I wish I knew where he was, to be honest.
Your theory.
I think it's possible that someone has my son.
Why?
Because I feel like if he had been close to the house or had walked off, that we would found him by now with as many people as we had searching.
Have you checked his social media?
He doesn't have social media.
Have you checked his phone?
His phone has been thoroughly checked, yes, ma'am.
Have you handed your phones to police, both of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, we have.
Has police searched all of your devices, your laptop, your iPad, everything?
Everything. Yes, ma'am.
Other than you, Miss Proudfoot, who is the last person that saw or heard Sebastian alive the Sunday before he went missing?
2 of his aunts, a cousin, and the staff where we had dinner.
And that was at BJ's the night before, or the bowling alley?
So BJ's, and then we went to the bowling alley, and then after the bowling alley, we went to dinner before coming home.
I want to follow up again on the dogs hitting. Earlier, Ms. Proudfoot had stated the dogs hit around the house, the barn, and at the retention pond. Is that correct?
I don't know about the barn. the barn, but I do know that they did track to the pond, yes.
Did the dogs also hit around the house?
Yes, ma'am.
On the outside of the house?
Yes, ma'am.
Were they scent dogs or cadaver dogs?
They brought in both cadaver and tracking dogs.
Which dog hit, a cadaver dog or a scent dog?
Scent dog.
It's all been scent dogs that have hit. The cadaver dogs have not hit on anything that we know of.
What do you believe Sebastian was wearing when he disappeared? And would that have been what he slept in?
Yes. So the clothes, the black sweatpants with the white stripes and the long sleeve black shirt, that is what he went to bed in. And the reason that I believe he was still wearing those clothes is because when we searched, I did not find those clothes in the house. So I have to assume that that's what he was still wearing.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Did you say that's what he wore when he went to bed?
Yes, ma'am.
Joining us right now, in addition to Katie Proudfoot and Chris Proudfoot, the bio mom and stepdad of Sebastian, an all-star panel. First to Brian Trasher joining us, Vice President of the Cajun Navy, who has joined the search. Brian, thank you for being with us. Who asked you to join the search?
Well, we had deployed a team up to Nashville, Tennessee last week in response to the missing college student, Riley Strain. And we stayed up there until he was found. While we were in the area, we had a lot of people reaching out to us on social media saying that there was a young boy who had been missing for several weeks that was only about 20 miles away from where we were. So we talked to a few people, got some information, and decided to deploy part of our team that was already up there to Sumter County to investigate and see what we could do to help out.
You went on your own. Were you asked to join?
We were asked to join. I'm not sure specifically who some of our people talk to, but we get requests all the time, and we'll reach out. We'll try to get either a family member or a close friend of the family, just so we know we're talking to people connected to the family. And somebody had reached out and asked us to join since we already had assets so close to Sumter County.
Tell me what you have been doing, Brian Trasher. Everyone with me, the VP of the Cajun Navy, who has joined in the search. You can find them at CajunNavyRelief.com. Brian, tell me what you guys have been doing.
Just real, we're the United Cajun Navy. We're the original group that everybody hears about. There's other groups that use the Cajun Navy name to try to fundraise off of our efforts. Cajun Navy Relief is not affiliated with us at all. We are www.unitedcajunnavy.org. We're the original. We're the real ones.
Again, what exactly have you been doing on the search?
So we've had a canine, our own canine team who is already participating in the search for Riley Strain up there searching around. We've talked with the lead investigator with Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, Agent Simmons. We've talked a lot with him and trying to coordinate efforts, because we always try to coordinate with law enforcement and make sure we're not getting in the way, duplicating efforts, or putting out any.
You know what, Mr. Trasher, let me just cut the chase here. Isn't it true that this weekend, pursuant to your search, that cadaver dogs hit?
She don't bore with any shit, does she? Like, let's just cut to the chase. And she addresses this now about the body being found. That's why I love Nancy, because she just gets to the point.
In an area that had been closed off because of a prior hurricane, and it is on federal property, bones and other items were found at that time. I found that very odd, as it would relate to Sebastian. Even if it was Sebastian, his body would not have been skeletonized at this time. Can you tell me now that what was found over the weekend is not connected to Sebastian? Yes, no?
No.
Not connected to Sebastian.
That hit was, yeah, that's correct. That hit was not connected to Sebastian.
Okay.
So he confirms that the hits, that the cadaver dogs, they don't hit for nothing. You know, if they hit, there'll be a cadaver somewhere or some scent of a cadaver or whatever. You know, that's what they're trained for. So if a cadaver dog has a hit, it will be for something. But the thing is, this is why they should not be live streams, because just because a cadaver dog hits, you know, Sebastian, unfortunately, is not the only possible dead body in the woods. You know, when they're looking for a body, they quite often find quite a few of the bodies, don't they? I mean, we've seen that a few times, whether it's in the river or in the woods. They found loads of bodies while they were looking for Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. They found 2 bodies in the river when they were looking for the chemical attack killer in the Thames. You know, so the thing is, just because a cadaver dog hits on a scent does not mean that it's the person that they're looking for. Now, he's confirming here that the hit that cadaver dog made, it did make a hit, but it was not connected to Sebastian. He's confirming that here. And if you carry on watching it, he will confirm that it was a homeless person. So, you know, that's what he's saying. I mean, you can believe it or not. You've got to decide what you believe or what you don't believe.
Joining me also, in addition to Brian Trasher, who has been leading the Cajun Navy in its search for Sebastian. Hold on, Brian. Other than those hits, have there been any other dog hits in and around the home or elsewhere?
You know, it's like anything else. You come to a fact with, do you believe it? So you're saying that they're lying, that there was not a homeless person found? You know, maybe they were. I don't know. But the thing is, it comes down to one person's word against another until the police confirm one way or another. But the police will only confirm when they're ready to. They won't do it because YouTubers want them to do it, you know, or even the Cajun Navy, I suppose. You know, and I think, don't forget, the Cajun Navy, they're a volunteer service. There's, you know, they are volunteers.
Not from our K9 team.
I'm very concerned, Brian, as you can imagine, because LA law enforcement has stated there were no canine hits outside the home, which I find very, very disturbing. Because if he had gone outside, particularly barefoot, there would definitely have been a scent trail. Now, we're hearing from the Proudfoots that there was a hit around that retention pond. How far is that pond from your home, Mr. Proudfoot?
Less than probably half a mile if you walk the whole path.
Is it through wooded area? Would he have had to walk through the woods to get there?
No, ma'am. You can actually walk either the main road or the subdivision. So the construction site is a subdivision, new addition that's being built, and they have a road that's going to be tied into our subdivision. So you could actually walk up that way, or you could walk to the main road and walk into it.
Did Sebastian ever sleepwalk?
No, ma'am.
So he would have had to leave the house undetected by Katie and walk all the way to that retention pond. Did the dogs follow the trail a half a mile?
Yes, ma'am.
They followed the trail all the way to that retention pond?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
That's very curious, as they are saying.
So this retention pond seems to have had you know, quite a lot of attention. But then again, when you look into it and we carry on with it, that retention pond was drained. There was nothing. It's just a shallow pond, you know. And as far as the bloody was it a homeless person who deceased or not, and is it the Cajun Navy? Are they a load of idiots or what? That just reminds me of like the Peter Folding thing. You know, it just comes down to what you believe or what you don't believe. And to me, all I think is, what difference does it make? What difference does it make? Are you going to, you know, these guys are volunteers. They go out there, volunteer their services, and now they're getting hassle from YouTubers. But, you know, and I am a YouTuber, but, you know, I don't believe anybody unless I'm provided with evidence. So if someone wants to provide me with evidence of something, but there is no, you can, and it's like the Peter Falding thing. Where's the evidence? There's no evidence. And even if there was evidence of like that he had found Nicola Bulley, which it's, God, we're nearly in April now, nearly swore then. We're nearly in April now. What difference does it make anyway? So I think these are things that the whole other thing gets lost in it. What's important here, all I'm interested in here, is this is a 15-year-old boy that's disappeared and gone missing. Somebody wants to go out and help look for him. I don't care who it is. If Peter Falding flew out in his helicopter, I'd be happy to see it. Let's find this boy, not get him, into this argument about, who's better, are they this or are they that? I'm not interested, honestly. Sorry, no offense to anybody, but really I'm not interested in that unless it actually helps to find Sebastian. And I don't think it will help to find him. All the, conjecture.
The dogs didn't pick anything up. Back to you, Brian Trasher. Did you guys search anywhere other than that federal property where the false positive was? Yes, no?
No.
Joining me is Courtney Lasky, high-profile behavior analyst, autism expert, chief clinical officer with Little Starts Therapy. Courtney, thank you for being with us. At this juncture, we know Sebastian to be most likely with people he doesn't know, if in fact he is still alive. How would that affect a young boy with autism?
It would affect him greatly. Based on the diagnosis of autism, we know that they typically have deficits with communication, social skills, and they display some rigid and repetitive behaviors. If, in fact, he is with someone else who does not know him well, that would be entirely out of his routine. He could be engaging in behaviors that he hasn't engaged in before. He could be looking for an escape. He could be looking to get out of those aversive situations. We know that not every autistic individual will wander, but those who do wander, 36%, it's to get out of an aversive situation. It's to get away from something that's overwhelming or overstimulating to them.
Ms. Proudfoot, does he know your phone number? Can he call you if he could get access to a phone?
We have gone over my phone number. I don't know that in a high stress time he would remember it, but yes, I have taught him my phone number.
Was he ever allowed to go visit friends' homes?
He didn't get invited, but had he been, yes, we have had play dates in the past.
Would he go there on foot?
No, ma'am.
Joining me now is Lauren Conlon, investigative journalist, host of the Outlier podcast, host of Corruption, What Happened to Grant Solomon, and you can find her at laurenconlon.com. Lauren, thank you so much for being with us. What can you tell me about that stretch of road, if anything, between Sebastian's home and that retention pond?
Well, look, Nancy, I mean, I think like everything else about this case, it is very confusing because the public hasn't heard much from the police. We haven't heard much from the Proudfoots, obviously, when it comes to that, or Seth Rogers. And now I'm learning a lot here as I hear Chris Proudfoot say, okay, we can't speak about this because of law enforcement. And now with the Cajun Navy coming in, I think a lot of us are very excited that they are going to basically canvass this road. And they are actually telling civilians to hang back. Nobody needs to search this anymore. You need to stop. You need to stop helping and let us work with law enforcement and take over. Now, I called the Sumner County Sheriff's Office yesterday because of all the misinformation going around. And I got to be honest with you.
There's your answer right there. So they want to take over and help with law enforcement. The YouTubers are all probably going to get annoyed because they're going to be turfed off and not allowed to do their live streams. So we're back to the battle of egos again. It's all about who can, it's not, it's not about who can find Sebastian or whatever. It's about, well, we want to do this, and the bloody everybody, and it's right. I've got to think about this in a good way. Everyone wants to help, and that's a good thing that everybody wants to help. But what is lacking here is the police have got to come out and say, right, we're going to take the Cajun Navy's help, or we're going to take the TikTokers' help, or we're going to take the YouTubers' help. And unfortunately, it feels like it's like a rerun, isn't it? It's like they're leaving everybody. So they're leaving like to me, it feels like the YouTubers and the Cajun Navy are like, clashing with each other because they're trying to do their thing. And the police, instead of saying, right, this is what we want everybody to do, maybe they're happy with them doing that, so they can go off and do other things and have they may be other things that they want to do, and they're happy. Let them argue between themselves, cause a fuss, and we'll go off and do this. Who knows? But I think it just became clear to me then when she was saying that, and it just reminded me, of that other case, arguments, egos. Oh, we can help more. We can do this. Everybody arguing between themselves and everyone forgetting that the only thing that really matters is Sebastian.
They didn't even know what was going on with this road, with the recreation search. They were either very elusive or they were very confused. But either way, it's very concerning because the people, as well as myself, I don't live in Tennessee. I cover a lot of Tennessee. We are very concerned for Sebastian. We are very concerned. And so,
okay, so let me just stop you right there, Ms. Conlon. Ms. Conlon, everyone is concerned, but let me remind everyone that law enforcement is under no duty at all to tell us or anybody else, including the Proudfoots.
Yes, and she's right here, what she says. The law enforcement, their only duty is to find Sebastian. Their duty is not for the parents even, their duty at the moment is to find Sebastian and what happened to him. And their duty is for him. And they don't have to, I suppose they don't have to assuage YouTubers or, Cajun Navy or anyone. All they have to do, and look, she's so angry, you can see her on that picture. It's like her face, she is fierce. She is fierce, and good for her for being fierce, but she's true. It's true what she's saying as well.
Anything. They are not representing the Proudfoots. They are representing justice, and they will do what they have to do. The fact that they're not giving us a blow by blow is their business. Does it mean they're stymied? I don't know. Does it mean they know more than we think they do? I don't know the answer to that.
No,
but just because they're not releasing an ongoing investigative file is not a concern to me. At this juncture, I am collecting facts in the best way I know how. Now, regarding that route from the Proudfoot home to the retention pond, is it your understanding, Lauren Conlon, that there were no hits by scent or cadaver dogs along that route?
Correct, Nancy. It is my understanding there were no hits from the dogs.
It is very confusing. It's confusing. Sometimes, Lauren, when we try to put together a puzzle, but we're missing a few pieces and we don't know what piece we're missing, you can't put the puzzle together. We're missing things from this puzzle. And right now, I'm on a fact-finding mission. I am pointing the finger at no one because I want to find Sebastian. I want to go to Dr. Jory Crossan joining me. And guys, again, please, Proudfoots, Trasher, Lasky, Conlon, jump in if you have a thought or you want to contradict, because a lot of this is elusive. We don't know everything. To you, Jory Crossan, joining us, former law enforcement, now faculty, St. Leo University, very well-known psychologist and author of Operation SOS. You can find him at drjory.com. Dr. Jory, thank you for being with us. Many people have made much of the fact that when interviewed, the Proudfoots do not look at the camera. They look away. They don't cry, and they don't seem upset. Now, that may or may not mean anything. People can be very upset, crying, screaming, cursing. They may show no emotion at all. They may be numb by the time interviews are happening. I'm very different. When I talk about my fiance's murder or I talk about my dad's death, I still cry, even when I swear I'm not going to. But everyone reacts differently. I'm going to throw this directly to Mr. and Mrs. Proudfoot. Much has been made. I'll ask you. You very often look away, don't look at who's asking you questions, show no emotion. Much has been made of that. And I'd like to hear your response. I'm not judging one way or the other. I'd like to hear your response.
So the fact of not looking at the camera all the time is because a picture of my son is sitting beside me, and I'm looking at him. As far as the crying thing, I have been crying off and on nonstop for a month.
Many people have asked me, why did Miss Proudfoot not call 911 immediately? And here's your chance to answer that.
Because by the time I realized my son was missing and I called my husband, at that point I was hysterical. I was at the point where I couldn't even form words anymore, and my husband is the one who remained calm enough to call them.
And to be honest with you, Miss Grace, the way we live outside of city limits, so you don't call 911 because you get routed to a dispatching hub who asks what's your location, and then they route you to another dispatcher to talk to give this story. I cut all of that out and I called straight to the sheriff's department because they have jurisdiction of where we live. So sorry that I decided to bypass a few steps and go straight to the source, where they responded within 10 minutes of the phone call being made.
Miss Proudfoot, that evening, were you drinking?
No, ma'am.
Had you used any type of drug at all, even OTC, over the counter?
No, ma'am.
And you had no argument with Sebastian that night?
No, ma'am.
You stated you put the dogs away into a crate before you went to bed. Is the crate located near the exit, near a door?
No, ma'am.
Would the dogs have barked if there had been an intruder or if Sebastian had left?
The dogs don't typically bark at me and Sebastian because they're used to us. Even if we get up, we come around, they don't typically bark. Strangers, they do tend to bark, at least for a minute or two to get attention. But no, ma'am, they don't typically bark at Sebastian and myself or Christopher.
What kind of dogs are they?
Morkies.
Question, where is their crate located?
In the area near my sunroom.
Over by the
In
kitchen.
your son's, okay, hold on. Is
No,
it
son,
outside
not
your
son.
son's room?
No, ma'am, not
Sunroom.
Sebastian's room. Son, yeah, yes, ma'am.
The sunroom. And that's not near the door?
No, ma'am.
Not near the front door.
It's near my back door, but not any of the other doors.
Yes, from what I've seen the layout of the home, it is near the back door, and they would have heard someone coming in and out that back door, correct?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
No barking. Do you have a chime or anything on your doors that would alert you to the door opening?
No, ma'am.
Miss Grace, could I jump in for something?
Yes, please. And I want to follow up with a question regarding Miss Proudfoot's polygraph. But please, Lauren, jump in. Everybody on the panel, now is the time to ask the Proudfoots any question that may shed light on what has happened to Sebastian. We are not in a judging arena. We are in a fact-finding arena. We can then assimilate the facts and make deductions. Please jump in. Lauren Conlon is joining me. You can find her at Lauren Emily Conlon. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And now this might be for Brian as well. Yesterday, when the dogs hit and everybody's going crazy, YouTubers, internet, TikTokers, and we figure out it's not Sebastian and police are not involved, the TBI is not involved. Did you call the Proudfoots and let them know that this was not Sebastian? Did you tell them ahead of time that you were searching these areas? Did they know what you were doing, or was this specifically just through Seth Rogers?
Yeah, so Seth Rogers is Sebastian's biological father, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so he was there, and as Ms. Grace alluded to earlier, it would not have been typical or possibly even probable that he could have skeletonized after only a few weeks. So I'm not sure about the Proudfoots, but his father definitely did know. Also wanted to echo what Miss Nancy said earlier about the police. One of the reasons we got called in, there was a lot of social media personalities reaching out to us, kind of complaining that they didn't feel like the police were doing enough. But really, it's just what Miss Nancy said. It's that they're not under obligation to give daily or every other day updates. They are doing an investigation. We have been in very close contact with TBI, and I can tell everybody with 100% certainty, they are on top of it. They are not letting their foot off the gas at all on the search for Sebastian or trying to find out what happened to him. The YouTubers and TikTokers that do live stream probably do the most harm. We appreciate the attention that they bring to things, but when you do a live stream, you don't have any control over what gets seen by potentially the entire world. So we can't tell people what not to do. They have free speech. It's their own accounts they're using. Not helpful to do live streams during searches like that. If you want to do a video that you can potentially edit later, so that we cut down on the amount of misinformation. That's why social media is not necessarily your house. We go in and do search and rescue. You have to trust the process, like we do. We trust law enforcement is going to have this wrapped up probably very soon.
Brian, however, I want to make sure that you are not encouraging citizen sleuths to stop looking, because I've had many cases where we put out the warning and they actually spot a missing person. I mean, I only have to point to Gabby Petito, whose remains were found in dispersed camping way out west by a citizen who had heard about the case. So, sometimes their information is wrong, but there is no way in HELL that I would ask them to stop. And I know that's not where you're headed. Yeah.
No, we don't want them to stop. Matter of fact, it was 2 citizen sleuths that found Riley Strain's bank card out by the bank of the Cumberland River in Nashville. So, like I said, they do provide a service. My only suggestion was maybe not doing live stream, maybe just video, and then you can edit and post later. Just a suggestion.
Hey guys, I don't want to see anything edited. I want to see the whole thing. No edits, no airbrushing, the real deal. But that's just me. I want to go back to
no edits, no airbrushing, the real deal. I love her. I think she's brilliant.
Katie Proudfoot. This is Sebastian's biological mother, Miss Proudfoot. What questions were you asked during your polygraph?
I was asked if I knew where my son was. I was asked if I hurt him. I was asked if I had hurt someone, among a few other questions.
And Mr. Proudfoot, you have volunteered to take a poly?
Yes, ma'am.
If I were to set up a poly for you, would you take it?
Name the place and time, ma'am. I'll be there.
So there you go. Nancy has offered him a polygraph. He says, name the place and time and I'll be there. So look, she's thinking about it. Now, watching this, I don't think that Nancy's watching this and thinking they're innocent or that they're guilty. Nancy has conducted this interview asking questions to find out facts. And just going back to what we said, somebody was, I think it was Caroline, was saying, how does a live stream give misinformation? And it gives it's not misinformation exactly. The information's correct. You know, the dog's alerted to a cadaver. But it, of course, because they were searching for Sebastian, straight away everyone's thinking it's Sebastian, you know, and I didn't see all, you know, there's loads of live streamers out there. You know, it's not just one or even two, there's probably loads of them. And then everybody who's out there live streaming, somebody else, some other YouTuber or whatever social media person picks up on it. And before you know it, everyone's saying, oh, you know, the dogs on live stream have picked up on this scent. And, you know, speculating that it was, you know, the boy that they were looking for, but it wasn't him. So it wasn't Sebastian. It was apparently a homeless person, and he's just confirmed that, the guy on there. Now, the problem is the police have not confirmed it yet. And then you get some people saying, oh, no, you know, it wasn't. I don't know, because I wasn't there. So I have no idea if it was a real body or not. But one thing that I do know for certain is it was not Sebastian, whatever it was. So it's not that it was giving misinformation. It was true information. A dog had picked up on a scent. But then, of course, it led to all that speculation, which, come on, let's think about it now. I mean, if that was your loved one, you know, and you were sort of watching that, or you were hearing about, next thing you're saying, oh, you know, dogs picked up on a scent and found a body in the woods or whatever. You know, it's not good. It's not good. So I agree with what the guy said. Don't do a live stream when you're actually watching a search, because also you can end up seeing the body. Like that happened with Nicola Bulley, wasn't it? And that's so disrespectful. You know, I wouldn't want my loved one's body being filmed by a YouTuber as it was being dragged out the river. You know, think about the families. Think about the people that, if it was your family, you wouldn't want your loved one's body being shown all over social media. You know, and it's like the sheriff Chumba was saying earlier about the sheriff that did post the picture of Madeline Soto by accident. Why did he even have a picture on his phone of Madeline Soto's body? For fuck's sake. Anyway, don't get me going on one. But so Nancy, whether you love her or loathe her, this interview has been brilliant. It's brought out information that I didn't know, probably a lot of people didn't know. She asks the right questions. She doesn't shy away from difficult questions. And she has now offered this man a polygraph, which he has said he will take anywhere, anytime. So we'll see.
And you're headed back to Memphis right now. Are you in your RV right now?
I am in my RV. We are not.
Are you in your RV right now? You know, she just asked so directly. I think they think, oh God, you know, they've just sort of answered what she says. I don't think it looks like they're lying.
Disclosing our current location just because of safety reasons, due to the YouTubers, the Facebookers out there that have sent some very heinous, threatening information and things of that nature, threatening to be outside of our house, all kinds of nasty things. So we're not disclosing our location at this time, unless you're law enforcement.
Ms. Proudfoot, is that one of the reasons you left the home?
One of them, yes, ma'am.
Question to you guys. When police came in and processed your home, did they look with, for instance, luminol? Did they check? What did they do when they searched your home?
They thoroughly searched my home with many different things. They removed some things for the dogs to hold the scent, and for Sebastian's DNA. I know that they used thermal
night
vision. Thank you. And I don't know exactly all of the tools that they use, but I do know that multiple different
Look, I do. Sorry, just watching comments. I love JLR. I love watching live streams and that. What I'm saying, maybe not, but he should not maybe live stream the recovery of a body. That's all I'm saying. You know, if there's a chance that a body, it caused a lot of problems. That so maybe when it's like that sort of thing, I don't know. Like when Curtis pulled filmed Nicola Bully's body coming out of the water, it was wrong. Of course, it was wrong. You know, to put that on social media, because you have to think if that was your son, daughter, wife, husband, child, you know, you wouldn't want that all over. Not social media, mainstream media, nothing. But that's all. So if he wasn't live streaming it, he could have cut it out. That's all. Anyway, you know, he ain't going to stop JLR. He's going to carry on live streaming. That's part of the reason why we love him, because of the live streams. It's just, when you're looking for a body, you imagine, well, think of it that way. So the other, you know, if he would have live streamed Madeline Soto's body being found, it would have been awful. But I suppose in another way, it's up to the police to keep people away from these kind of places. You know, if the police think there's a chance that a body's going to be found, it is the police's responsibility to put up, you know, police tape and cordon off the scene, isn't it? But we know that Curtis got past everything, sneaked his way past. Curtis was a bit sneaky with it. I didn't watch the JLR thing, and you know, I won't have time to watch it, to be honest. I love JLR and I do watch him sometimes, but to be perfectly honest, I just haven't got the time.
Searches were done on my home by many different people, detectives, sheriffs, and a few others.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I wouldn't swear that the forensics folks showed up or not, because there were so many folks in and out of the house that it was just, hi, I'm so and so with law enforcement. I'm so and so with law enforcement. Okay.
Every time they've said we need to look, or please do.
Does Sebastian have a hardwood floor or a carpeted floor?
In his bedroom,
carpet.
You know, the questions that she asks, I mean, she is clever. She is clever. Whatever he says, sorry, I don't care what anyone thinks about her. I think she's clever and I think she's good.
Yes. Carpeting.
Carpet.
Did they remove any carpeting?
No, ma'am.
Do you feel confident they searched his bathroom?
They did.
Yes, ma'am, they did.
When you state that they removed items for the scent dogs, what did they take?
Clothing, a blanket that he used like every day, and a few other items of his, toiletries, like his brush.
Lauren Conlon joining us, investigative journalist. Lauren, again, thank you for being with us. And earlier you were hearing sound from WSMV4. I understand you have another question.
Oh, I mean, I guess I didn't quite get the clarity I wanted, in the sense that, did the Proudfoots know that this search was going on with the Cajun Navy? Were they being called? Were you guys being alerted about this? Did you hear from a YouTuber that they found something, that the the search dog started jumping? Or, you know, were you just kind of blind to all of this? Just, you know, over in your corner doing your search?
No, ma'am. So here, to set that record straight and help the United Cajun Navy. So somebody's got a picture out there saying that we're enjoying a dinner, when we're actually out there, got flyers at a dinner table because we need to eat. My wife was on the phone with the Cajun Navy. That's how the Cajun Navy was brought in. And we talked to the president of the United Cajun Navy. He put us in touch with their team that was here locally in Nashville. Then that young lady reached back out to us, gave us some more information. We gave her some more details. Then they said they would start a search, but we also had them get in direct contact with the TBI agent, as well as Sumter County's Sheriff's Department. We provided all that information. They reached out to them, got some information. They pushed outside of the areas that had been searched already, conducted a search. Somehow or another, they linked up with the bio father, who supposedly got a tip from somewhere. Whether or not it was credible or not, we don't know. But it led them to searching on federal property without permission, which is where we have been informed at some point that there was allegedly a hit on something, but turned out to be nothing. And they were asked to leave the property immediately, or the cops were going to be called because it was trespassing based off of a tip that the bio father received.
Yeah, to Brian Trasher, VP of Cajun Navy, let's clear it up. Isn't it true? This is on federal property that had been closed off. It was a hurricane site earlier. It was also, yes, thank you. And it was also near railroad tracks, and some homeless people have been living there, and apparently one of them had died, and we believe that is what the dogs were hitting on. Is that correct?
Yeah, all the above is correct, and we did
All
not
the above.
gain access to.
See, all the above is correct. So there you go, Nancy. This is some news that Nancy's got through. She's asked him about it. He's confirmed it. I believe him, to be honest. But I think that's exactly what happened. There was probably some poor homeless person there that had passed, you know, lonely and just fucking living in the woods or whatever alone. And that's what the dog picked up on, because dogs, those dogs, they don't pick up on nothing. That's what she's just asked him. Let's listen to that again.
Gave us some more information. We gave her some more details. Then they said they would start a search, but we also had them get in direct contact with the TBI agent as well as Sumter County's Sheriff's Department. We provided all that information. They reached out to them, got some information. They pushed outside of the areas that had been searched already, conducted a search. Somehow or another, they linked up with the bio father, who supposedly got a tip from somewhere. Whether or not it was credible or not, we don't know. But it led them to searching on federal property without permission, which is where we have been informed at some point that there was allegedly a hit on something, but turned out to be nothing. And they were asked to leave the property immediately, or the cops were going to be called because it was trespassing based off of a tip that the bio father received.
Yeah, to Brian Trasher, VP of Cajun Navy, let's clear it up. Isn't it true? This is on federal property that had been closed off. It was a hurricane site earlier. It was also, yes, thank you. And it was also near railroad tracks, and some homeless people have been living there, and apparently one of them had died, and we believe that is what the dogs were hitting on. Is that correct?
Yeah, all the above is correct, and we did not gain access to the property. It had already been open when we got there. I'm not sure how entry was gained, but yeah, everything above it that you said was correct.
Guys, the search for Sebastian goes on. If you have information, if you know or think you know anything about this beautiful, young, autistic boy, please call TBI, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, 800-TBI, FIND, T Tennessee, B Bureau, I, Investigative, TBI, FIND, 1-800-TBI, FIND. That's 800-824-3463. Please join us in the search for Sebastian and lift up your prayers. This boy will be found. Goodbye, friend. Guys, thank you for watching.
Brilliant. Love her. I do love Nancy Grace. And I agree what Ocean was saying earlier. You know, I love JLR, and I love when he does the boots on the ground thing, and he gives you an idea of the scene. And not only JLR, other streamers as well. And yes, Curtis was very good with this video footage at St. Michael's. But you know what? Sometimes it can go too far. Now, what I like about JLR is normally he doesn't. He normally is respectful, you know, to what's going on. He doesn't push his mic in people's faces and try and make them say things, put them on camera and lie to them, you know, and say they're not on camera when they are. I do think that was a problem with Curtis, and I do think that's why people got really pissed off with him. And to be honest, I don't blame them. And I think any of you out there, if you opened your door in the morning and there was someone out there with a phone or a camera videoing you, well, and you didn't even know maybe that you were being videoed, getting you to do an interview, and then next minute you're on YouTube, I think you'd be pretty pissed off, to be honest. And so I understand, I literally understand that 100%, how he just went that little bit too far there. And it's a shame because his videos were very, very good, very good quality, very, you know, the videos of the actual area, etc. Though nothing's quite the same as going yourself. But do you know what? Sometimes you just can't go yourself. You know, you want to go, but you can't. You know, you can't go to all these faraway places. So it's good to have someone like JLR out there. And JLR is respectful, you know, in the main, isn't he? So, you know, of course, he does a lot of these immigrant videos now and things. But at the moment, anyway, you know, I do like JLR's videos, but of course, as I say, I just don't have time sometimes. Things, you know, flash up and I'll be in the middle of a class or working, so I can't watch it. And then when I finish my class, I don't have time to watch JLR's video because I'm too busy trying to organise my videos, but I do watch him sometimes. I always recommend him to people, and if I use any of his videos, I always say to people, don't I? I always come on here and say, you know, go over there and give JLR a subscribe and he's good, etc. I just unfortunately don't always get a chance to watch him. Okay. Now then. Is somebody asking me if I've been... What's that? Have you been dating today? Oh, it's Ebo. He's creeping. He's creeping. No. Oh, I'm dating every day, Ebo. It makes no difference. Every day's a date as far as I'm concerned. Oh my God. Well, do you know what? If somebody knocked on my door, well, first of all, I never answer the door because all the dogs start going mad, barking and everything. So I look out the window, and then, you know, the way my house is, you can't just come up to the front door. You have to wait down at the bottom, you know, ring the bell and you're down at the bottom of the step. So I have a look through the window, and then if I don't know who it is, I just don't even answer it. So certainly if I had bloody a camera at the door or whatever, someone with a camera won't be opening it. Or I'd have to say, yeah, come back an hour later, just let me put my makeup on and put something decent on. I could be just in my tracky bottoms and, you know, whatever. Anyway, but yeah, so I certainly would never open the door. It's like, did that start? I mean, it started long before COVID, didn't it? That not answering the door. It just, I mean, years ago, I would have gone to the door, you know, without even thinking. I've got a little spy hole on the front door, so if somebody does come up the steps and actually to the main door, I can look out, see who it is, and just shout through the door. Just shout through the door, who is it? But yeah, I would never just open the door without checking who it is first. I haven't done that for years, and part of it is because of the dogs. You know, you can see. Someone came today actually because I need my TV. It's a bit of a long story, but they changed the change my internet cable sort of system. But of course, they've got to reprogram all the channels into the TV. And I forgot that they'd said that they might pop round. I was having a nap on the sofa. So I was half asleep, and next minute the doorbell goes, the dogs are all going mad, everyone's got, it was like chaos, and I just forgot completely that this person was supposed to be coming, though they hadn't said an exact time or day even. So I'm looking out the window and I can see this guy. I'm thinking, oh, who's that? Who's that? I'm not letting them in. Anyway, it turned out it was the guy from the internet company. So I've still got no TV channels. So it's a good job there's never anything on TV. Can't even remember the last time I watched the TV. But yeah, unless I'm actually expecting someone, I do not open the door. Well, I wouldn't even open the door then. I would always shout through, is it you, whoever? I would never just open the door. Just wouldn't do it. Vicky, look what you spelt my name wrong, Ebo. It's Vicky with an I, not a Y. Yeah. Anyway, so that's it. So I'm off to bed now, and I will, because it's 10 to 11 here, 10 to 11 at night here. So I'm a little bit tired. I haven't recovered from Madrid yet, to be honest. I think, oh my God, I still haven't caught up on my sleep. I'm reading the chat now. I always do that when I get tired, don't I? Okay, so there you go. So this is where we are with Sebastian. I don't think it looks promising for Sebastian. I don't have a positive feeling that, I shouldn't feel like that, should he? There's always a chance. Oh, and I just want to check. Oh, everyone's saying night, but I don't think there's no news on Samantha, is there? Because people would have told me. Anyway, I'll do that in the morning if there is any news. So thank you for being here with me tonight. Let's hope, pray that Sebastian will be found. But not only Sebastian, but of course Samantha, all the other little Cielo in the river in Leicester, etc. So many people missing, so many families, heartbroken. But anyway, we'll find out sooner or later. I think Sebastian will be found sooner or later, but I just don't feel that it'll be a positive outcome. But anyway, we'll see. So thank you. Remember to live and love carefully, wisely. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Night, night.